The Bill of Rights has always been a staple in the United States, but not many people know its origins. Some say it came from the Constitution, some say it derived from the Declaration of Independence. The reality is, the origins of how we got the Bill of Rights was more complicated. It involved wars, political arguments, and revising previous articles and rights. So, what is the Bill of Rights? How and why was it created? And what did it mean for the future of the United States? The Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution, and these rights are what made the country to have such freedoms. While many people refer to these as the foundings of America and should always be followed, like the Ten Commandments of the Bible, these amendments were mainly made for the government back in the 1700s. And this can be bad in retrospect. This can make the amendments have confusing writing and thus makes the people have inferences or assumptions to the original writing. The amendments have drawn in arguments and vague assumptions to what they actually mean in today's time. However, they did mean something back then when they were created. The Bill of Rights origins can be found within the American Revolution. After the Founding Fathers declared independence from Great Britain, Congress wanted to create a government that can help people through trials of war and beyond. Thus, they created the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation became the first constitution after the Declaration. The Articles of Confederation was made to have laws and to make a central government for the nation. Along with a strong central government, the Articles of Confederation also gave power to the states. There was one problem though. How much power did the states have? Well, the Articles gave the states more power than the central government. Not only that, but many states had their own constitutions, with the Bill of Rights included. For instance, the states that exercised the freedom of religion were Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New Jersey. Another example was Massachusetts, with having many rights that would be precursors to the American Bill of Rights. Delaware was another state that gave roots to the Bill of Rights, with the right to banning the quartering of troops in the homes during peacetime. Maryland added a prohibition on bills of attainder. Vermont was the first state to outlaw slavery. Pennsylvania, for instance, omitted the right to bail and bans on excessive fines and cruel punishments. While Pennsylvania added the freedom of assembly, petition, and speech, the state did not have bans on excessive punishments for criminals. Many states retained their constitutions and kept their rights separate from the rest. But that created an issue. Say someone in Pennsylvania were charged a crime that in another state, the punishment would not damage the person too much. However, in Pennsylvania, because there are no rights to ban on those kinds of excessive punishments, small crimes can be charged as much as a bigger crime. This made states backlash on who has what rights and what rights were ignored in every state. And these were not the only problems that the nation was facing. While the states have different constitutions, the Articles of Confederation showed its cracks the longer it stayed. The Articles did not give a branch of government to enforce Congress, no national court system, and voting for new laws or amendments was going to be much trickier than expected. Because of these cracks, delegates of Congress needed to write a new constitution. This new constitution had 3 branches of government: the legislative, executive, and judicial branch. The number of representatives for these branches would be determined by a population in the state. This was known as the Virginia Plan. The plan did get a lot of support, mostly from the delegates from the larger states. Delegates from smaller states opposed it because they'll get less votes in the House. This changed when the Great Compromise came to play. In July of 1787, a compromise was made. The compromise was that the legislative branch will be a bicameral branch. The 2 houses for the branch would be the Senate and the House of Representatives. This was able to solve the biggest debate for a state's representation in Congress. The system kind of worked like this. Every state would get 2 senators in the Senate, regardless of the size, and the members of the House of Representatives would be determined by the population size of every state. The neat thing was that while this was the system that we have today, it was not the first idea, which screams change doesn't happen overnight. Then in 1790, after Rhode Island became the last state to ratify the Constitution, the American Constitution was born, and it became the supreme law of the land. But there was one glaring thing about the Constitution. See, many people and delegates were upset that this new Constitution would not include a Bill of Rights. So George Mason of Virginia proposed to use the state constitutional rights as models for the federal Bill of Rights, since it was his wish for the Constitution to have a Bill of Rights included in the first place. James Madison of Virginia took this proposal and sought out to make it happen. After the Constitution was ratified, Madison created and presented a list of amendments that can be added to the Constitution. Of these amendments, the House approved 17, and those 17, the Senate approved 12. By December 15th, 1791, only 10 of those 12 had been ratified with the Constitution by the states. With them, the Founding Fathers created a step-by-step process to creating a new amendment. This process was to make sure that the future leaders did not change the Constitution too easily. While the process was simple to follow, the process was difficult for two reasons. First, 2/3 of the members of both the House and the Senate must vote for it. And second, it must be ratified by 3/4 of its members. If the process was easy, the Constitution would be changed a lot and it would cause an unbalanced power with certain rights. So, after decades of having the Bill of Rights, what do the people today view them? I think many people today view the Bill of Rights in two ways. It's either they see them as the framework for the country, or a way to get what they want in the law. As much as the Bill of Rights has been made, many people make interpretations of the amendments, thus causes a lot of confusion on what the amendments means. A great example is the First Amendment, with freedom of speech, as it is not as free as most people think. While freedom of speech makes citizens have some protection on what they say, not everything is protected, such as terrorism, certain actions that are ruled unjust by the law, and even naming babies certain names. But the biggest one that is still under debate is the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment has two interpretations, where the students of the amendment stressed that the individual's right to keep and bear arms was meant to be protected only within the context of highly regulated militia. However, others oppose this idea. But here's the underlying issue. The Bill of Rights is not a list of rights to create new laws. The Bill of Rights was supposed to secure previous existing rights. This is what the Founding Fathers feared in a much more terrifying way. Instead of creating new amendments for rights, congressmen and citizens viewed the Bill of Rights as a framework for new laws to create when the Bill of Rights was supposed to secure the natural rights for everyone. But unless people start realizing that the Bill of Rights was supposed to be a framework for natural rights, interpretations and assumptions and new laws that abide these rights will still be talked about and debated. It's only a matter of time before the Bill of Rights won't be called a Bill of Rights, but a Bill of Model Laws.